Hello, everybody. Hope you're all having a good Thanksgiving. Fuck this phone, my photos still appear. Sorry to hear that, Starscream. Almost got banned in Slice Stream. Got him with the wanna become famous. Oh, you gotta be real careful when you do that, Star. Alright. So we'll wait a bit more for more people to come in. Um, bit of background on this. So I've been seeing the aircraft tier list been flying around, and now that we have all the DLC aircraft, I figured, I'll make one for myself. Hello, Sinvertus. Happy Turkey Day. And I decided I'd go ahead and rank all the aircraft, all 35 of them, in this game. And so I decided, okay, I'll rank it, and then I'll post it on the Discord. But you guys wanted me to do a stream where I reveal my rankings and give my judgments on them as to why I put them in certain ranks. And I have a feeling that there might be some hot takes in here, so this will be interesting. Anyway, so we're going to do this is we're going to go to the aircraft viewer, and I will reveal each aircraft's rank starting from the bottom to the top. Starscream, I'll get the knife. One thing to know about these rankings is this is just about how useful they are, in my opinion, in this game. So, for example, an aircraft that I would rank very highly in a 6 would be the A-10 Warthog. I can tell you right now, it ain't going to get very high in a 7. So, example for you there. Knife. Alright, so I'm going to use the aircraft viewer, and as I talk about each aircraft, I will move to that aircraft. You're voting Starscream. So without further ado, let's get started with Raz ranks aircraft. And starting, let's get the hangar. This isn't a good hangar for this. See this hangar or New Arrows? We'll do 444 because that has nice music. Alright, so number 35 is, let's see here, let's do it in alphabetical order. No, owned order. Is the MiG-31B Foxhound. I'm sure none of you are surprised by this. Yeah, the fat fucker. This aircraft, I mean, they call it a fighter, but it's not. It's not a fighter. It is an interceptor, which means it's designed to do one thing and one thing only. Take off, go real high, real fast, and kill bombers. And then land. You don't intercept ground targets, though. No, you don't. But you also don't intercept fighters, you intercept bombers. Fighter implies maneuvering, implies dogfighting capabilities. Interceptor is you take off and intercept a target before it can reach you, with the implication that you kill it on the first pass. That is what an interceptor is, Salty. at least militarily speaking. A fighter is you go up and you actually engage in dogfighting. No, you don't use attackers against bombers, but there needs to be a separate category, is what I'm saying, for interceptors. Salty. Anyway, so the MiG-31 is extremely fast, might be the fastest plane in the game. I can't deny that. It also requires a very large turn radius. MiG-31, haha, engine go burr. Its SP weapons are very long-range weapons. This one is the only one that makes it somewhat useful. X2 might be faster. Well, it's a super plane, so fine. Fastest real-life game, or real-life plane in the game. But the primary weapons are the semi-active missile and the long-range missile. This is meant to be... These are the weapons of an interceptor. The problem is that the Russians made too good of an interceptor, it can't do anything else. It cannot turn. It cannot... I mean, it can't dogfight. It does one thing really, really well, and that's it. So yeah. It goes at the bottom of the list. Although it does have a very nice skin in Schwartz. Other skins that I like are the is the Comet. Everything else is just kind of bleh. Alright. So, that was number 35. Number 34 is the F-104C. I'm going to go ahead and put an emblem on. Bro, this is what the hell do you mean? The F-104C, the Starfighter, isn't exactly a very useful plane in my opinion. It's got the same problem as the MiG, or as the Foxhound. It goes fast, but it can't turn. It also has a very, very low ammo count, so you're not going to be able to... This is not a German fighter. The F-104C is Lockheed. Now the Germans famously used it longer than the Americans did, but it's an American fighter. And fast is relative. At the time it was made, this is one of the fastest fighters in existence. It's also made in the late 50s, early 60s. This is a pre-Vietnam era aircraft, Salty. So anyway, its weapon selection is armed with the SAAM, the Sparrow, homing rockets, and the Sidewinder on steroids. Fair, but I would rather use the Starfighter because at least it can turn. AIM-9X, yeah. Although I'd say the AIM-9X is more of a QAM, but whatever. The Starfighter, yes, the MiG does have pulse lasers, but only has 350 shots. You're not clear for takeoff. Obey orders. But no, because of the HPAA, I think the Starfighter is better for dogfighting. Yeah, she should have built. But this isn't the Avril F-104. No, yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, Salty, this thing still can't turn. But at least it can turn in a radius smaller than the state of Texas, whereas the Fox Sound requires a radius bigger than Alaska. But it's also got a much smaller profile than the MiG-31, which means it has a smaller hitbox. It's harder to hit. I don't know why you redeemed that, Star Crater. Guide the raid is... Oh, there's somebody that you wanted to raid? Yeah, you did. That's alright. But the Starfighter is still pretty bottom of the barrel, in my opinion. It's only marginally better than the Fox Sound just because it can turn a little bit better. And it does have HPAAs. Number 33. The CFA at high speeds does not require that big of a turn radius. Yeah, here it is. The A10. The A10 is number 33. And this one actually hurt. Because compared to how high it is on my A6 ranking, it is number 2. Or number 3 in the A6 ranking. You missed the 35 and 34, Ember. 35 was the Foxhound, 34 was the Starfighter. 33 is the A10, and oh, how the mighty have fallen. Because this version has no FAABs. It has no Our Lord and Savior RCL. It just has rocket. And the XAGMs aren't as good as they are in A6. The gun is so much weaker. And what's worse is there are no real good anti-ground missions in A7. They always have an anti-air component at the end in the mission update. The only one that really is any good for this is Long Day or Pipeline. But there are other planes that can do the job better. And I hate that. In real life, I love this aircraft so much. But because of the mission profiles and just how badly they've nerfed SP weapons from 6 to 7, the Warthog paid the price. So I salute the fallen memer. You will live on in Ameria, where they truly know how to treat you. Moving on, number 32. The F4. The F4, I'm pretty sure a lot of you are surprised that it wasn't the last, is, for the first time they actually classified it right, a multi-role. primarily built as an interceptor, but proven to be a good strike bomber. The Phantom is another one of those things that go fast, and turning is kind of an afterthought. The difference is that the Phantom can actually turn in a decent radius. It's not the best, but we're talking small town radiuses here now. So it is acceptable. That radius of Idaho's height. And its weapons are actually fairly decent. It's got the unguided bombs. I'm not sure what this is. I think it's like supposed to be a harpoon or something, or the Air Force equivalent of a harpoon. But LAGM. And for some reason the SASM. Although I would have actually given it the Sparrow, because that's what it always had. That's its standard yeah, long-range air-to-ground missile. I know that is. But I don't know what its real-life counterpart is. Like, the American LASM is the harpoon. Sort of thing. But no, when used as a strike fighter or a bomber, this is actually a fairly capable plane, especially in the early missions. I just would prefer it to be a little bit more maneuverable for the fighters, and I would like for it to have a little bit more ammo counts. But other than that, the AC7 version of the Phantom is not bad. I just don't use it as much because, again, there are other planes that can do the job better. Number 31. Ostrich, if you're in here, I apologize, but the Mirage. The Mirage is a French aircraft. Very small. Nimble. But its main issue is that it feels underpowered to me. It doesn't feel like it has enough thrust. I feel like it should be able to go faster. And my biggest complaint is its lack of weaponry. You don't get that many standard missiles, and the amount of special weapons you can carry is abysmal. The weapons you do get: 4AMs, one of the most versatile anti-air missiles. I have no problem with this. This is a great missile. Anti-ship missile, not bad. I think this is the Exocet. But it doesn't carry many of them, so you're going to have to be going across the return line a lot. And then there's this piece of shit. Worst weapon in the game. Hands down. Worse than rockets. Because rockets can at least kill multiple things. So basically the Mirage is underpowered and undergunned, which is why it's so low. But because it actually does have a good selection of special weapons aside from the bomb, I tend to place it a little higher than some of the others. Number 30. The F-16 Fighting Falcon. I will. I'll post the lettered rankings in Discord after the video. But the Tomcat, I'll let you know in Discord when it gets there. So, the Falcon, a very good starter plane, but as appropriate for a starter plane, it quickly gets outshined. It's moderately fast, but there are many planes faster. It's moderately maneuverable, but there are many more planes more nimble. It's moderately stable, but there's a lot more planes that are more stable. It's a good all-around beginner's aircraft. It's not like a starter poke and you want it gone before charge assault. As for SP weapons, it has a decent air-to-air selection with the 4AM and the SASM. And it has this piece of shit for some reason. I'd rather it have just unguided bombs. But whatever. But yeah, it doesn't really shine in any way. It's unremarkable. So as a result, it rounds out the 30s. Now to number 29. And I'm pretty sure people knew it was coming. Salute to the fallen. Okay, yeah, salute to the fallen. But yeah, number 29. I'm actually surprised it was this high. The SU-47. The SU-47 is a very nimble aircraft. At least you can say when it... Now, you can do shit in it. However, my issue with the reason why I put it this low is the same. It has the same problems that it plagued it in A7, or not A7, but A6. It is great for 1v1 dogfight. That is it. You look at the weapons. Sparrow, aka the sniping missile. Unguided bomb, which, I'm sorry, but this shouldn't even have anti-ground weapons to begin with. It's too unstable for that. Ding dong, your opinion is different than mine. Wrong. And QAMs. For 1v1 dogfighting, the Barracuda is a very strong pick. However, you don't often go on a mission for 1v1 dogfighting. And as such, a lot of the missions that this could succeed in are better filled by other aircraft. The mission that I normally use the Barracuda on, voluntarily, is Mission 18. Because QAMs will annihilate Mihai. I'll also use this often in Mission 7, which is again another Mihai. These will also be good against Mission 20, which is again a very single target 1v1 dogfighting type of mission. But any other type of mission, multi-locks or more versatile aircraft are better in my opinion. So, but I honestly thought I'd be ranking it lower, but I couldn't rank it any lower than number 29. Even though I hate the asymmetrical tails, I can't deny that it is a very capable 1v1 dogfighter. It's just very situational. So that was hot take number 1. Let's see if this is going to be hot take number 2. Probably not. Number 28. The F2 Viper Zero. And you know what? Just because we actually have the emblem for this. The F2 is basically F16, but a multi-role. Which means it has a lot more staying power than the Falcon. I think it might be... I know it's more stable than the Falcon, which probably costs a little of its mobility, but I think it might actually be faster than the Falcon. And I know it can carry more weaponry. And the weaponry it can carry: anti-ship missiles, high-speed sniping missiles, and rockets. Which, for a multi-role, this is a much better selection than what the Falcon had. But it is still based on the Falcon, so it can't really... I mean, there's only so much you can do with the chassis in this game. So that's why it's number 28. But yeah, I do like it. I just... And in A6 it's a lot better. But, you know, then them's the breaks. Number 27. Might be a hot take. Joshua Bristow's aircraft, the YF-23 Black Widow. Now, my beef with this is that it can't post-stall at all, which it should be able to, given... I mean, you would think it could. And it... To me, it seems like it's just a stealthy version of the Eagle. Because it's weaponry, you've got sniping missile, 4 AAMs, the AMRAAMs, and then unguided bombs. Problem is... Okay, Salty, but I don't use it. I don't use the Black Widow all that much. And I'm not going off of stats, I'm going off of how useful it is to me. I did say this was opinionated, Salty. But... And I did say this is going to be a hot take. If stealth mechanics were a thing in single player, this would be a lot higher, because it is stealthy. And with the 4 AM, it's a very good general purpose fighter aircraft. But because stealth isn't a thing, there are other planes that can do the job just as easily and better, that don't have to worry about stealth. And I think the stealth part of it, in my opinion... Hello, Game Zone, Project Wingman type noises. I wish I could play Project Wingman. I am a console user. I don't have a PC. But to be honest, I've never really liked the look of the Widow. But I have to admit, it's useful. I just don't really ever use it. I just never really knew where to fit it in. And so, like the U.S. government, I too reject the Black Widow in favor of the Raptor. But anyway, moving on. Number 26. The only MiG I actually like in this game. The MiG-21. Why, guys, let me just continue it. Because the Raptor is expensive as fuck. Now, the Fulcrum is a good mid-tier plane. Yeah, the MiG-29. It's a good mid-tier plane. It can Cobra. And it's armed with a pretty good selection of weapons. You've got the HPAA, the 4AM, and the LAGM. All of which are very good weapons, especially for an early game plane. Now, I don't use it all that much right now, but I went through the Soviet tree first. And I spent a lot of hours on the Fulcrum until I could unlock the flankers. And so this plane will shine in the early game and in the mid game. Later game, not so much. But it is still very useful. Good stats all around. And good weapon reserves. Hey, Salty, I don't work for the government. I don't work for Lockheed. I can't tell you why they did that. But the only thing I can think of is money. Or they want a more multi-purpose fighter than the Raptor. Yeah. So for 26, it's the 29. Moving on to 25, and this one actually really hurt, because this was one of my favorite aircraft in a 5-0 Assault Horizon Infinity Ace 4. But in A7, I have to give it to the Su-37 for number 25. And I hate that it's this low. Because I love this livery. I love this flanker. It's got full thrust vectoring capabilities. Yeah, for this game, Salty. For this game. For this game. My reasoning largely comes down to the weaponry. You've got the HPAA, 4AM, and then the TLS. This is what ranks it low. I've never been a fan of the AC7 TLS. I can't use it all that well. It's not that... I mean, because they dramatically reduce the damage over time, it takes a lot longer for this thing to kill. And you all know how well I aim with directed energy weapons to begin with. So yeah, let's take a directed energy weapon that you have to hold on to the target for like 3 or 4 seconds to kill. Not gonna work. And as versatile as 4AM is, it's I wish it was 6 a.m. because the 6 a.m. is is better. And I wish this was a QAM instead of the HPAA. Number 24. And this is largely not necessarily due to the performance of the aircraft itself or the weapons that it's been given. It's the amount of weapons and the amount of reserves that it has. Number 24. And I hate that I have to rank it this low. Is the Tomcat. Solely because it needs more ammo. Needs más ammo. But no, the Tomcat is a sexy as fuck motherfucker. Especially with the Jolly Rogers livery. But it suffers the same problem as it does in A6. No ammo. And it's very situational. It is an interceptor through and through that does have the capability of dogfighting. It's just that they don't give it the weapons it needs to. Now this is the Tomcat is one of the best sniping airplanes I've ever seen. Yeah, early game aircraft are usually low on weapons, and this is an early game aircraft. Quiero más balas. Want more ammo. Unfortunately, I wish this was given the 6 AAM. The 8 AAM sucks balls because of the locking mechanisms. You waste so many missiles on duplicate targets with this. If it had 6 AAM, I can guarantee you the Tomcat would be a lot higher on my list because it could actually kill Arsenal birds. But the 8 AM draws it, holds it back, as well as this piece of shit. I know the Bombcat traditionally has the GPD, but oh my god, I cannot stress how much I hate this weapon. But if this had 6 AM, I can guarantee you this would have been at least 10 places higher. But yeah, this is one of those rankings where I love the aircraft in real life. It's just that the game didn't. Anyway, moving on to 23. The F-35C Lightning II. Now this one, excuse me, the loud motherfucker. Yeah, that's me. This is a very good multi-role aircraft. Not as good as some of his previous incarnations. I think the best incarnation of the F-35 was actually from Ace-5 with the anti-ship missile. Ace-Zeros was also pretty good. But anyway, the pound. Oh. Ah, yeah. But the Lightning is a very, very stable aircraft platform, or strike platform. And it's a very capable dogfighter. The other reason why it's this low in the rankings is because I'm not a fan of its weapons loadout. I got no problem with this one. This is great. SOD is not like it was in previous games. It's a little unwieldy to use, and not all that great. And 8 AGM has the same problem as the 8 AAM does. Double lock, you waste so many missiles with this. So you get like maybe... feels like you get 5 or 6 shots with this before you're out. So yeah, it almost manages to make it out of the bottom, or almost manages to make it into the top 20. It's a great strike fighter, but I wish its weapons were a little bit more user-friendly. Number 22. The SU-30 M2. As a flanker, it's a decent flanker. I don't like the second seater. It makes its head look thick. I know it can Colbit, but for a mid-tier flanker, it just seems a little underpowered, in my opinion. Its weapon selection is pretty good. HPAA, 4 AGM, and 4 AAM. Pretty standard bread and butter, run-of-the-mill. But, like I said, it feels underpowered, especially compared to some of the other flankers, and for what you need in order to unlock it. And quite frankly, a lot of the missions that the M2 could do, the SM or 35 or 33 does better. So that's why it's only 22. Now 21 they are both part of Soul Squadron, yes, is the fullback. This attacker is the only attacker in this game that is actually of any good. It can also maneuver like a dot. It's not as good as a fighter, but it can maneuver about as well as the Tornado GR4. It's also capable of doing a Cobra. But the main reason why it's this high up is because... Why do I gotta be mean to the thick boy flanker? I'm not mean. I like the thick boy flanker. But the reason why it's this high is its weapons setup. It has 4 AGM, which actually I never use. HCAA, which means that unlike the Warthog, it can go up against those air-to-air mission updates. Like in Long Day. But the real reason why it's this high is this baby right here. The SFFS. Quite literally the best bomb in the game that isn't a DLC weapon. I will tell you this right now. If the A10 had this bomb instead of the unguided bombs, the A10 would be in this spot. And if it had our Lord and Savior RCL, it would be number 1, but, you know, we can't all have what we want. Mary is guarding that secret weapon real close to the chest. But no, the fullback is a very capable attacker that in a pinch can be a capable, or is more than capable of defending itself against air attacks. I wouldn't use it against Soul Squadron, but you know. And then rounding out the 20s, SU-30SM. Probably a hot take, but hear me out. It does have 6 AM. It does have QAM. And the LAJM is pretty good. But what holds it back is it doesn't have that many. It doesn't have that much ammo. And the missions I would use it on, aside from, you know, killing Mihai with his own plane because I find it ironic and I love delicious irony. You clicked off what the fuck we talking? This is number 20. The SU-30SM. The main reason why I have it lower than others is, again, ammo count. It's a highly capable aircraft otherwise, it's just you want to be able to use it for those big missions like killing the Arsenal Burb, Anchorhead Raid, Farbanti, Dark Blue, but the ammo count just quite isn't there, and I wish it was. If it was, it'd be much higher on this list. But we're starting to get into the aircraft that I really, really like, and I've had a hard time ranking them. But yeah. Number 19. The Typhoon. The Typhoon is one of the best long-range aircraft in the game, with the LAAM, HCAA, and unfortunately the 8AGM. But what holds it back, from my opinion, is it lacks a good multi-target air-to-air weapon. Although the HCAA reloads fast enough that you can compensate for that. And it also isn't that great against the ground. But, that being said, it's a great aircraft, and I love the rot skin. We're getting into the I believe at this part we're getting into either high C or B tier area, or the B tier. Not quite sure. I don't have that list in front of me. But yeah, if it had 6 AMs like it did in A6, this would be a lot higher. But yeah. Number 18 is the poor man's Cypher. The F-15J Kai Eagle. I really like the F-15. And this one has QAMs, has HCAAs, and SAMs. This is an excellent dogfighting aircraft. Problem is, it can't post-stall. It's not Cypher. And it has no effectiveness against ground targets whatsoever. But this, I can't rank it too low because this is what got me most of my multiplayer trophies, is this plane right here. So I do owe a lot of my early multiplayer success to the J. And for the longest time on console, this is as close to Cypher as you're gonna get. Excuse me. I just switched it at anti-ground capabilities. Number 17 is the Flanker D. The Flanker D is only this high because of one reason. One weapon. Because it's a flanker that can only Cobra. Its air-to-air is alright. But it has the EML. And against naval targets, this thing is a monster. It also does have the anti-ship missile, which means that you want a fleet dead, the Flanker D is a very good choice for you. Oh, why did I do that? I hit a button, guys! But the Flanker D, like I say, it cannot do many post stalls. It can't Colbit. So it's not as maneuverable as some of the other flankers on this list. But that railgun allows it to punch way above its weight class. So that's why it's at number 17. Number 16, I think, is our final flanker, actually. Yeah, this is the last flanker. And it's the SU-35. Now, normally I don't like the SU-35, but in this game I do. And that is largely because of its special weapons. I mean, I like the maneuverability and nimbleness and speed of all the flankers. They're all very capable aircraft in that regard. But the weapon selection for the 35 is the best of all the flankers. It has sniping missiles, and a lot of them. Anti-ship missiles, and a lot of them. And most importantly, 6 AAMs, and a lot of them. Like, over 60. Which means this aircraft is a great late game aircraft. It can kill Arsenal birds. It can do Anchorhead raid. It can do unexpected visitor. You can use this plane on unexpected visitor and still have a few special weapons left by the mission update. Where's the Reaper's emblem? You want me to put it on there? Okay, I can put it on there. I put Akula because it's, well, Akula, but, you know. There. Reaper's Emblem. But no, the Super Flanker is a very, very useful aircraft. It's definitely better against anti-air than anti-surface, but you can't go wrong with a Super Flanker. Number 15. I personally hate this aircraft, but I can't deny its effectiveness in this game, especially at getting a certain medal. And that is the fish bed. The fish bed is the only plane in the game whose special weapons count as guns, because they are guns. And when I finally get around to doing my guns only run, you're going to be seeing a lot of this sucker. Because, again, it's got 3 guns. It's also probably more maneuverable in the game than it is in real life. It's small, hard to hit. It's just ugly as sin. But the machine guns allow it to punch way beyond its weight. I'm just not that great with them. So that's why it's not higher on the list. It's because I suck with it. But no, if it wasn't for the fact that it had this, the fish bed would be a lot further down on the list. Because, I mean, rockets, please. And the Sparrow is good, but it can't carry all that many of them. It's this that's the only reason why it broke into the top 15. Just the sheer amount of Berts. For number 14, here's going to be another hot take. And this is largely due to one of its special weapons. The Raptor. The Raptor is one of the greatest, most advanced and capable dogfighters ever produced. It's stealthy, can kill aircraft at beyond visual range, and can one-on-one a flanker with ease. And if this had the same weapon loadout as Ameria's Raptor, or ISAF's Raptor, or hell, even Ustio's Raptor, this would be in the top 5. But what sets it down is its only multi-lock air-to-air missile. It's the fucking 8 AM. I despise this so much because it wastes so much ammo. As such, I only use, really, the QAM. And while this will wipe the floor with Dark Blue, I often use the Raptor for Dark Blue and Mission 18. Because it will destroy Mihai. It will destroy the Ravens. And if I could, I would use this against Mimic. But these kind of suck. But no, if it wasn't for the double locking of the 8 AM, the Raptor would easily be in the top 5. So blame that one on this. but it is in the top 50%. Actually, more than that. I think I'm not sure of percentages, but yeah. Number 13. F-15C. Throws papers. Fuck this. I'm sorry, Starscream. I love the Raptor, but they saddle it with one of the worst weapons in the game. But now the Eagle. With the pulse laser, it's one of the most versatile aircraft in this game. It's only this low, largely because the other weapons it has kind of weigh it down a little bit. And in the maneuverability department, it's good, but there are much better ones. Also, the PLSL does have problems in clouds. So, there's that. But it does have the best livery in the game, and that is... Sly, I haven't gotten to the Wyvern yet. Happy Thanksgiving, Sly. We're going in ascending order, so we did the bottom first. So the last planes are going to be the best for this game, in my opinion. We're on number 13. Anyway, I would place the Eagle higher, but it does struggle against multiple targets, or it doesn't have the best multi-lock. It's okay with the 4AM, but 4AM is not an arsenal bird killer, in my opinion. You want the 6AM for that. Pulse laser is superior until, you know, you're in a thunderstorm. And then you might as well be spitting paintballs. But no, God damn it. It is, and at this point in the game, or in the ranking, yeah, the F-15 is that high because of the PSL. But at this point at this stage of the ranking, they're very close together, and I already crushed Starscream's dreams by putting the Raptor lower than the F-15, just because I cannot stand the 8AMs. Anyway, number 12, the Strike Eagle. Kid could. The Strike Eagle is number 12. And I put that above the normal Eagle because it has more ammo for its main weapons. It can take more punishment. And the weapons it does have, while it does not have the PLSL, it has arsenal bird killing weapons in the 6AM. It has the best non-DLC bomb in the game, the SFFS, and it does have the TLS. I don't use the TLS at all because I suck with it. But these two are the reasons why the Strike Eagle is so good, in my opinion, other than its base stats. TLS means nothing. Exactly, I didn't factor it in. But no, the Strike Eagle... Also, the Strike Eagle is the only two-seater aircraft based off of a single-seater chassis that doesn't look wrong. It might be because the F-15 fuselage is long enough to begin with. But like the Su-30s, that cockpit just looks misshapen. No, I love the look of the Strike Eagle. But anyway, number 11. And this is largely due to one SP weapon in particular. The Gripen. The Gripen is fast, nimble. It has the 6 AAM. But most importantly, it has the fuck you cruise missile. This thing is basically what the AC6 version of the anti-ship missile was. Although the anti-ship missile in AC6 was still more powerful. But still. Ah, yes. The Scram S-rank cruise missile. The Gripen Lord and Savior. The SASM is okay. It actually makes the Mimic fight kind of tolerable. I mean, nothing really makes that fight tolerable for me, but, you know, fuck Mimic. But basically, we've got two of the most broken special weapons. You got the most broken anti-ground weapon that isn't DLC, and the most versatile air-to-air missile in the game in terms of sheer destructive output. The only thing that would make that fight tolerable for me is special weapon variant of the Arsenal Bird Shield. No, give me the A6 rapid fire EML and I'll be fine. That'll work. Or give me Sniper OS. I know there's a part in A7 that works similar, but it's not to the same degree. That would only work because they come at you head to head. I mean, that's their fault. So now we're in the top 10. And at number 10 is the Rafale. This baby flies under the radar. Yeah, the Rafale above the Gripen. Because this baby is the king of long range. If you don't have the DLC and you want to go for a no damage run, you take Rafale. Also, this will annihilate in multiplayer. Between this and the F-15J, I had the most fun and read most kills with this aircraft. The Rafale has a high ammo count. It's fast, nimble, small, which makes it harder to hit. It has so many of these goddamn things. These are basically like the poor man's MSTM. It has the I Snipe You Die air-to-air missile. And quite a few of them. And of course it has the Give Me S-Rank cruise missile. So between that and its great stats, Rafale takes the number 10 spot. Also, it's cute. It's also the only French plane I actually like. Number 9. This might be a hot take, but keep in mind this is usefulness for this game only. These rankings do not reflect my rankings in other games. So, like I said earlier, the A10 and A6 would be number 2. Here it's number 33. So, number 9 is the ADF-01 Falcon. It previously occupied a much higher slot, but then more DLC dropped. It's a great dogfighter. In fact, it's probably in terms of overall performance, this is the best flying of the Grunder planes. However, its SP weapons, this one, it's just run the mill. Hi, Lady Scry. Pops into stream. Immediately imagines Raskers and that car solo thing. This baby can pack so many FAABs. But no. The FAAB is basically the only reason why I pull this plane out. I suck with the TLS. Why would you use the Falcon with this plane, or with this weapon? There's no point. If you're going to use the Falcon, you either use the TLS or the FAB. And the FAB is the best damn bomb in the game. No questions about it. Hands down. No one's using the Falcon for TLS. It's the FAB. I love the FAB, and before new DLC dropped, the FAB alone would have put this easily in top 5. But as I started playing more and more, and largely thanks to the DLC missions, is how I kind of learned or learned how to use other different weapons and learned to value certain weapons. The FAB, like exactly Sly, it's a lot more situational than you might think. So it's kind of, it's got a lot of spectacle, but once you really start using it more and more, you kind of start to realize, wait, it's not as good as I thought it was. And there are things that are better. So it made it in, the Falcon made it in to the top 10. But just because of some other planes that were released later, and because of some other planes that have better loadouts for more missions, I honestly can't put the Falcon at any higher than 9. Number 8. And this one really surprised me. And this is largely because of how well it performed in Anchorhead. The FA-18 Hornet. For the longest time, I had written this plane off because of A6. In A6, it has the Sparrow, SOD, EMP, and some form of bomb. Didn't even have an anti-ship missile. So I just wrote this off. But in A7, this is the best version of the Hornet in any of the Ace Combat games. bar none. It can Cobra. It's fast enough, nimble enough, and its SP weapon selection is fantastic. QAAMs. A mid-tier plane with QAAMs. Anti-ship missile. For Anchorhead Raid, this is a dream godsend. Anti-ship missile and QAM. You've got the main part and Mimic covered. And to top it all off, it has the EML. So a relatively cheap mid-tier aircraft equipped with essentially some of the best weapons in the game. Yeah, I can understand that. That's why I can't put the Hornet in the top 5, but simply because of how versatile it is. And again, this is my AC6 American pilot style coming through. A versatile plane earns my respect a lot more than a plane that's more specialized for a game purpose. In real life, it'd be totally different. In real life, this plane is a piece of shit because the Navy is running them ragged. Every time the Hornets take off, they're like, "Kill me, please," because they have more miles on them than what they should. It's like running your car 100,000 miles past the time that the engine started smoking. But in the game, OCI actually takes care of or can afford to take care of the aircraft. But yeah, it would drive 500 more. But no, the Hornet really surprised me, especially given how late I put off purchasing it. Because I went down the Soviet path first, then the upper American path, so I could get the Wyvern, and then I filled in the middle. So yeah, I wasn't expecting the Hornet to be this good. Number 7. And I think this is the last of the real-life aircraft. The Su-57 Felon. If anyone is surprised by how high this placed, well, go back and look at some of my earlier streams. I farmed for this piece of shit. I farmed two-pronged strategy for ages until I could afford to buy this, because I saw it had pulse lasers. And it's like, I want it. And then as soon as I got it, I started my campaign over. So my first time through bonus was with this. If it wasn't a Flaker Monster, you'd use the Su-57 as your main. Normally, I don't like Soviet aircraft. In the past, I am an Eagle Raptor main. But I saw this had pulse lasers. So I went the Soviet path this time first. But it's got 4 AM, a weapon we don't talk about, and the most versatile weapon in the damn game, the pulse laser. On top of being being fast, nimble, and able to do a full Colbit. Also has a high ammo count. You can take the Su-57 on any mission in the game and expect to do well. And I've proved it. I've done so many runs with this plane only, with the PLSL, and I've gotten S ranks. This is the best real-life aircraft in this game, in my opinion. The only thing that can make it better is that they gave it Trinity. But anyway, moving on. Now, we're at number 6, just short of the top 5. And the aircraft that... Go fly the XO. Funny you should mention that, Sly, because the XO1, or the ADF XO1 Morgan, is number 6. Yeah, bite me, Sly. No. But the Morgan is a very... I mean, it's a fantastic aircraft. Back in Ace 0, this was my main once I got it, because the burst missile would just wipe the field. And in Ace 7, the burst missile is much tamed down, but the Morgan still kicks ass. Because the burst missile is basically an FAAB that you can launch from long range and can guide. It also has the IEWS, which is so broken. It turns an otherwise adequate dogfighter into the, oh my god, get this guy off my tail dogfighter, because my missiles don't work. Basically, IEWS is the SP weapon variant of Snake Pit. This is basically you have your own pocket Snake Pit. Perhaps it's not enchanter levels, but it does make a difference, especially in the Mimic fight. In the Mimic fight, I think it doesn't help you in locking on to the Mimics, or to the damn Calypsos, but it does make it harder for them to hit you. And that helps tremendously. But no, the best weapon for this is the burst missile. It works. It's an FAB that you can lock onto, use against air targets, surface targets, rain V2 down upon your enemies. The only reason why I have it so low, or why it's not in the top 5, is because it is a little unstable. And compared to some of the other plane, or compared to the rest of the planes on this list, I don't know, it just... If it wasn't for the burst missile, I'd probably put it lower. Just, I'm not a big fan of how it performs. But that's just me. Number 5, the last of the Grunder planes, the ADF-11F Raven. Yeah, it does. It's just that in this game, the burst missile is still better than the FAB. And it does have the IEWS. Now, The reason why the Raven is number 5 is for 2 reasons. One, pulse laser for gun. Which means that in the guns only run, that pulse laser counts. So when I do the gun only run, this is the other plane that will be featured a lot. Another reason, it's not because of this, not because of this. This baby right here should be considered a weapon of mass destruction. The UAV will shred Mihai to bits, will shred the other Ravens to bits. I haven't actually tested it against the Mimics yet. I might have to do that. But the UAVs allow or give the Raven much needed range, because otherwise it's a very, very short range aircraft. And that's fair, Sly. I do like the UAVs just because it allows me mobile guns, essentially, and it gives the Raven much needed range. And the UAV's pulse lasers do work in clouds. I've found that out. Or at least they work in clouds better than yours. But the main flaw with the Raven is it lacks multi-target. It's great against one single target, but against a multiple, you gotta be real quick with that target select and weapon switch. Also, if its speed drops too low, it will stall out. So if you're not careful, that could be a problem. Number 4. The ASFX Shinden 2. Not quite a superplane, but this is one of the most stable aircraft in the game, and it has some very good weapons. And I love the story behind it. They did for Assault Horizon. PA wanted a believable aircraft that the JASDF could have, because at the time they didn't think they'd be getting, or that they'd be able to purchase the F-35. So they came up with this. Personally, I would much rather have this over the F-35. But the SP weapon loadout, you've got 6 AM rockets, but this one's okay because it has a lot of them, and the thing can almost hover because of its extremely absurdly low stall speed. And it has the anti-ship missile. But this thing is a fleet killer and an arsenal bird killer. I would easily give this S tier ranking. But there are 3 planes that I believe are better. And number 3 is the XO2S Strike Wyvern. The Strike Wyvern is, not counting DLC, the best plane in the game. But because DLC is a thing, I can't put it number 1. Yeah, this is Sly's baby, and it's a very good baby. It's fast, maneuverable. It is one of the best and easiest planes to post stall. It is an incredible 1v1 dogfighter, but it also has the capability of going up against multiple aircraft. It's got 4 AAMs, anti-ship missiles, and I honestly wish this was more power, like it had more power than the standard EMLs. I wish this had like damage and a half, because it looks like it should. It's also a super plane. But you can take the Wyvern into almost any mission and expect to do well. I honestly can't really find many faults with the Strike Wyvern. I love the wing layout. I love the flanker-esque fuselage, which makes total sense because it's Erusian, and Erusia's top squadrons have always used flankers. So of course they would make their homegrown superplane based off of a flanker, but they would take the flanker and go, how can we make this better? I know, let's make it the most maneuverable thing we've ever seen. Hence the Wyvern. But yeah, if you don't have DLC, there's a reason why this plane is the capstone, and it more than earns its spot. Now, number 2. The XFA-27 Firebird. I'm calling it the Firebird after her canonical pilot, Phoenix. This is number 2, Sly. What do you think number 1 is? But no, the XFA-27. Fair enough. But like I said, this is opinionated, Sly. Your list might be different than mine. Rigged. It's not rigged, trust me. But no, this one is a highly... I mean, this plane flies like a dream. And really, it only needs one SP weapon. The SOD is a joke. No one uses this. The IEWS is great, but really, this is the only SP weapon you need when it comes to the XFA-27. This simple thing allowing you to fire up to 6 sidewinders at once, or in rapid succession, if you're good with or fast the weapon select, will annihilate any target. The downside is the only downside that I see with this plane, and it's not that big of a downside, is it does have a problem with multiple targets at once, unless you're really fast with the target select. But I recently used this against the Alicorn, and this is now the plane I will use against the Alicorn for my S-rank runs. Move over, Rafal, you have been replaced. Because the Firebird is the best plane to use against the Alicorn. those MSTMs will shred every hardpoint. And best off, they can be used against the drones too. They don't give a shit. But yeah, that this is... I mean, I never had the attachment to this plane that a lot of you all did, because my only real exposure to this plane has been in Ace Combat X, where it's treated as a mid-tier plane. And it's given the ammo as such. And Ace Combat Assault Horizon Legacy, where it's so maneuverable, it's almost uncontrollable. I would like to think that the AC7 version is the closest you can get to the original Ace2 version. And since I can't seem to find Ace2, this is as close as I'll get. And if this is what the Ace2 version feels like, oh god, it is powerful as fuck. And last but not least, because of process of elimination, my baby takes number one, the CFA 44 Nosferatu. It does have a high instability, but it's actually very maneuverable at high speeds. You just, as I said, it takes a different mindset of how to fly. Also, I will admit this, the XFA-27 is a much better 1v1 dogfighter than the Nosferatu can ever hope to be. I'm just going to put that out. But the design philosophy of the Nosferatu was not 1v1 dogfighting. The design philosophy of the Nosferatu was wipe the board. One plane is able to kill armies. Whereas Aruja took their flanker and was like, how can we make this the best dogfighter we can make it? And then they built the Wyvern. And Savaki was like, how can we take this flanker and make it annihilate battlefields? As such, yeah, this is not a great dogfighter. It can do it. If you stay in the vertical and use your speed against your opponent. But what its main purpose is you see that entire battalion, I want it gone yesterday. That is what these babies are for. The ADMM is meant to annihilate the enemy on a battalion level. And given the game that it's from, you needed that. The EML, it's weaker than its Erusian counterpart, but you get two of them, which actually can counteract if you're good with the aiming. And if you're not so good with the aiming, you can still land or hit more reliably because you have that follow-up. That first shot, oh, you missed. Correct your aim a little bit, bam, now you hit. And then IEWS, which compared to the other two isn't all that special. But no, if you're going to take the Nosferatu out, you're probably going to take the ADMM. And like I said, it's a force multiplier. And unfortunately, unlike most of the Holy Trinity games, the newer games, starting from A6 onwards, tend to be more about versatility than dogfighting prowess. That's still important, but you need, especially in this game where you need to be able to take out a lot of enemies relatively quickly, you want something that can do that relatively quickly. The CFA can do it. So in my opinion, that is why the CFA 44, even though it's not as powerful as its A6 version, is still the most effective plane in order to wipe the board and get those S ranks. I wouldn't necessarily take this against Mihai or the Ravens, but it's not built to do that. Anyway, that was my ranking. I will post a tier list in the Discord after the stream is over. Thank y'all for joining me. I hope you had a great Thanksgiving. Tomorrow we will be back on track. You took it with the EML against the Ravens and was like, yeah, don't get me wrong. The Nosferatu can dogfight. It is just not optimized for dogfighting. It is optimized. In fact, originally it was supposed to be a more stable platform. It was Pasternak that wanted more mobility, but that came at the cost of the plane's stability because it's heavy as fuck. But anyway, we get back on track and on schedule tomorrow with not a scratch. We will continue with Faceless Soldier and we'll try and get through Farbanti. So the first act of the LRSSG. We're not going to be doing the Torres DLC because we don't need that for the medal. Now, after we get the medal, I might try and do a no damage run with the Torres DLC. I don't know. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Saturday, we'll be continuing with Mass Effect. And then Mondays, more Dragon's Dogma. Tuesday, Flooferson and I kill Hitler in multiple different hilarious ways in Sniper Elite. And then next Thursday, we will continue with Ace Combat 7 Chat Decides. Probably the last episode of Chat Decides, because I think we've finished Farbanti. Not entirely sure, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Anyway, thank you all. Happy Thanksgiving. And I will see you all tomorrow.